Think back to your first time walking into a theme park's kids section. Even a basic carousel or spinning teacup feels magical when it features the characters you recognize from home. Beneath that colorful paint is a high-stakes economic reality. Pouring concrete, forging steel tracks, and engineering safe amusement rides requires millions of dollars in capital and years of physical planning. Compare those permanent steel investments with the shifting landscape of pop culture. A child's favorite television show today can be completely forgotten by the time the next school year starts. This illustrates the concept of intellectual property shelf life. You have a high, flat line of fixed capital costs, intersecting with a curve of cultural relevance that decays over time. When the associated brand loses its dominance, the relevance line drops, turning a once profitable ride into a liability. Theme parks are locked in a relentless, expensive race to keep their heavy infrastructure aligned with the interests of a constantly changing audience. To see how this race plays out on the ground, we can look at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. As a major regional park, it spent decades as a proving ground for this business strategy. Our specific subject is a humble attraction, a small railway where children sat in handcars and physically cranked a lever to propel themselves along a track. That track operated for 23 years. Because its mechanical design remained so consistent, its history serves as a clear timeline for mapping the evolution of children's entertainment. Following the lifespan of this one obscure hand-cranked loop reveals the cyclical economic model that drives the entire amusement park industry. The story begins in 1982. Kings Island debuted the handcar track as the Rawhide Railway during a major expansion of their children's area. In this early iteration, the ride used a loose Western theme, but it lacked a specific television character to act as a primary draw. By 1998, the park's strategy shifted. They initiated a massive refurbishment to double down on recognizable intellectual property across the entire section. The Rawhide Railway was rebranded as Louie's Buggies, named after the sidekick from Hanna-Barbera's The Quick Draw McGraw Show. This renaming was a calculated business decision to align a generic physical asset with a strict park-wide brand identity. Louie's Buggies was just one component in a much larger zone known as Hanna-Barbera Land. The goal was to take the two-dimensional world of Saturday morning cartoons and build a unified three-dimensional environment that families could explore in person. They mapped out this ecosystem with consistency. They used the retro-futuristic world of the Jetsons for the Jetsons jet orbiters, launching kids into the air in tiny spaceships. Nearby, they built Top Cat's Taxi Tail, wrapping a beginner-level roller coaster in the familiar yellow hues of the street-smart feline. They even included an interactive dark ride, Scooby-Doo's Haunted Mansion, where guests could join the mystery-solving team to hunt for ghosts. By spreading these recognizable names across every physical attraction, Kings Island successfully locked in family attendance through the power of household brands. By the early 2000s, the rise of 24-hour cartoon networks and digital cable began draining the audience from traditional Saturday morning schedules. This created a nostalgia inversion. While ticket-buying parents remembered these characters warmly, brand recognition among the child demographic dropped to zero. The shared experience of network television fractured into dozens of niche audiences across cable TV. Parental nostalgia is a weak foundation for a children's area. If the kids don't recognize the characters on the rides, the infrastructure becomes dead capital. Kings Island took definitive action in 2005, permanently closing and removing both Louie's Buggies and the Jetsons ride. This was a clearing of physical space to make way for an entirely new pop culture empire, Nickelodeon Universe. The purge was comprehensive. Even the popular Scooby-Doo license was removed, with the Haunted Mansion ride being rebranded as the generic Boo Blasters on Boo Hill. In the business of kids' entertainment, parks must ruthlessly wipe the physical slate clean the moment a new generation arrives. Louie's Buggies remains significant as a physical record of a specific era in youth culture, regardless of its simple mechanical design. These children's areas are not static playgrounds, they are living reflections of current pop culture. To stay profitable, the theme park industry can never afford to be sentimental. They must continuously destroy their own past to engineer relevance for the future.